It's a rainy Friday morning in the city of Lagos. Good morning and welcome to the Lagos Traffic Report, coming to you live from the studios of IATV. My name is Folashade Ogurinde, and this morning we'll be taking a situation report along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway as well as the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. And helping us with this is Route Commander Florence Okwe of the FRSC. She's on the line now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Quickly take us through the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. What's the situation? Do we have traffic gridlock? Is the road free? So what's happening there? Let's know.
Okay. The traffic situation on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway this morning in West Lagos from Togidi Ibadan to Onigari. The traffic is free. Onigari Alapako free flow. Alapako Fidewo to Sagamo Interchange is also free. Sagamo Interchange Mowe is free. Mowe Asisi Ibafo. There's slow movement of vehicle due to the narrow lane at Ibafo. This is affecting the traffic there, but it's not much. It's moving. MFM is free. Magboro Opi, the traffic is free. Down to Bega, free flow of vehicular movement. Then Lagos Ibadan section, that is outward Lagos, we have Bega is free. Opi, Wariwa, Ibafo, there's slow movement of vehicle in the narrow lane also, and the high vehicle going out of Lagos. RCC, the Kara interchange is free. Onigari and Lapako down to Togedi Ibadan is free flow of vehicular movement. We have one crash this morning along that axis, but the crash is not affecting the traffic. FRC rescue team has been mobilized and already on ground carry out the rescue operation. Then the Lagos.
Okay. Yeah, Madam Florence Okwe. So that means despite the heavy downpour yesterday, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is still free. It's quite free according to your report this morning.
But the rain yesterday, I believe the whole thing must have been dried off this morning, but the traffic is normal traffic this morning. Traffic is flowing. There is no operation outside where the construction zones are, where the narrow lane has been. When the road is being narrow by the that's the only section that is affecting traffic this morning. The other sections they are free.
All right, thank you. So let's move on to the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. Please give us the traffic report.
Okay, Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway this morning, areas where traffic is being affected, we have Yano Lupo, a slow movement there to the ongoing construction. We have slow movement at Iweko Lafa Cement to Itori, a slow movement. We have slow movement at Iyanisele, Owode, slow movement at Owode to Sango, also due to the bad portion of the road and the rain. Slow movement at Ola to Lolo to Ijaye, while other sections of the road are free.
All right, many thanks.
No crash and no obstruction on that axis also. FRC advised motorists to drive cautiously, avoid overtaking at construction zone, and use the stipulated speed limit, which is 50 km/h. And as the rain also intensifies, motorists are advised to watch out for falling trees, electric poles, and other obstructions caused by the rain. Ensure your vehicle is in good condition. Ensure your wipers, your tires, your windscreen, your lights are all in good condition.
All right, many thanks.
Call FRC toll-free number 122 to report any crash or obstruction. Have adequate knowledge of the road before you embark on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Route Commander Florence Okwe of the FRSC Ogun Command, for giving us that detailed explanation with regards to the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway as well as the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on now to the newspaper review segment. Don't go anywhere. We'll join you shortly. A pleasant Friday morning to you. Welcome to the newspaper review segment on AM Cafe. We are here to do a review of the top stories making the headlines in the front pages of the national dailies. I am Folashade Ogurinde and I have with me a colleague. How are you doing, Faith?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning, viewers. I'm Faith Agbetuya, and this morning I have with me the Guardian newspaper, the Nation newspaper, and some inside stories, business stories from the Guardian newspaper.
Okay, we begin now with the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard this morning is reporting insecurity, alleged Islamization, with the headline saying Christian elders misfired on Buhari Muslim groups. That story is on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. We also have a couple of riders here that says Buhari is a nominal Muslim, not committed to any group, says the Shiites. NCEF's petition to UK Parliament intended to inflame Nigerians, says NASFAT. The third rider here says a petition by Christian elders, prank to score cheap political points, says MPAC. Presidency source, UK trip waste of time, Afenifere Khan Ohaneze react. That story is on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. I have a story here also that says Apapa Oshodi gridlock, failed road responsible for slow pace of enforcement. That story is on page 10 and that statement was made by the task team. Federal government revokes 6 oil licenses, more threatened. And that story is on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. NBC shorts AIT repower indefinitely. You can find the story on page 5 of the Vanguard. Senate leadership, Goje withdraws endorses Lawan after meeting Buhari. That story is on page 4 of the Vanguard newspaper. Just above the masthead here, I have a story that says oil thieves replace militants, steal 100,000 barrels daily. That's an inside report by the Vanguard newspaper. The story here says insecurity, governors meet Buhari today, says Okowa. That story is on page 12. 3.4 billion naira fraud. Ganjide queries Sanusi. We are studying the query Emir's aid. That story is on page 15 of the Vanguard newspaper. 3 killed in Imo bomb blast. That story is on page 6 of the Vanguard. Rise in Oando share price sparks fresh controversy. That story is on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Faith, we've seen the story here, the headline. Yesterday it was reported in the newspaper that the Christian group, that's CAN, the Christian Association of Nigeria, had a trip to the UK, to lay complaints about the Islamization or Fulanization agenda. Exactly. They allegedly said that Buhari is an extremist. So there's a reaction here by the Muslim groups saying the Christian elders misfired on Buhari. The riders with the Buhari is a nominal Muslim. Okay. We've seen these infractions between
two religious groups.
Exactly, and some people will feel that Buhari is an extremist, or just as Obasanjo just said that there's a Fulanization agenda. I remember I said one time that there seems to be a paradigm shift from Islamization to Fulanization. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my own view is in every nation, Nigeria is such a big nation. You have 2 different religious groups. I mean, 2 different main religious groups in the country. So you definitely can't but have something like this coming on. You have the Christians coming to say, no, Buhari has plans to Islamize the nation. And then the Muslim groups are coming to say, hey, no, don't say so, because the president is actually a nominal Muslim. So it's left to Nigerians to actually decide and wait to see, well, when this is going on. I'm sure the president will actually want to work on convincing the Christian groups that he's not in for Islamizing the country. And if he actually has a plan, I'm sure the old calls and everything will make him drop those plans.
All right, let's move on to the Guardian newspaper.
All right, on the Guardian newspaper, I have tension as Ganduje queries Sanusi, restricts Emir to palace. And the writer to that story orders him to respond to query within 24 hours. The standoff between Kano State Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje and Emir Mohammed Sanusi II is rising to a disturbing crescendo. The governor yesterday queried the traditional ruler and gave him 24 hours to respond to allegations of misappropriation. The latest action followed the June 5, 2019 restriction of Sanusi's Salah activities to the palace. That story continues on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And away from that story, AU suspends Sudan over military crackdown. That's a world report on page 34 of the Guardian newspaper. And away from that, Buhari revokes 5 oil mining prospecting licenses. That's on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on, Undume wants 9th Senate rules out visit to Aso Rock. That's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Buhari and Nigeria's transition to next level of insecurity. That's a special report on page 38 of the Guardian newspaper. And then I have NBC suspends AIT Ray Power FM licenses indefinitely. You have 2 riders to that story. Dr. Kicks claims we have violated no rule. Its attempt to gag media. Public opinion, says PDP. Well, this story kind of caught my attention yesterday evening when I saw it. And, well, I saw many Nigerians making comments that this move is actually a wrong one. And so many people were against it. But then, so many Nigerians were as well saying, well, they've had a lot of reports, a number of reports, where the AIT was working against the government. But then many people were also saying, does the press not have freedom of expression anymore? But then well, there were a lot of
that's on social media.
Views,
but the thing is, the embassy is in one of their extent, what they do is to ensure that exactly they control the media, more or less like a censorship to the media. And if they are saying that this broadcast station has, flouted some rules and regulations, I think if we go deeper into the story, we'll find out that the NBC must have made a list of all the flouted rules and regulations. So it's not like, a witch hunting kind of thing. I'm very sure that there will be a document stating where, they've infringed or where they've gone wrong or something. Exactly. So I'm very sure that must have been the ball. Definitely, we so to say, practice free press in Nigeria. Yeah, exactly. But still, there has to be regulation. So I'm sure there's a balance somewhere between the broadcast station and the NBC.
And then we have Dr. saying here is kicking against the claims of NBC that it has gone wrong. It says we have violated no rule. And with that, we move away from the Guardian newspaper onto the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, the Nigerian Tribune is reporting with the headline story, Senate presidency. It's now Lawan versus Ndume with the riders as Kojay steps down after meeting Buhari. Deputy Senate President for Southeast not negotiable, says Kalu. 60 more reps elect adopts Gbajabiamila, and NAS clerk confirms next Tuesday as inauguration of 9th NAS. That story is on page 2 and page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Moving on, protest as NBC shuts AIT Ray Power suspends license. That story is on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. Ganduje queries Emir Sanusi over financial misappropriation. That story is on page 9 of the Nigerian Tribune. APC State Chairman passed votes of confidence for On Oshomele. That story is on page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune. Just below this, I can see there's a story here that says banditry, Zamfara government suspends Emir district head. That story is on page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune. Knox kudos as senators recount 4-year stewardship. Retired Saraki, Akpabio, Sani, 63 others farewell. 8th NAS most persecuted, harassed, says Dogara. That story is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. And there's a picture here of Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki at the valedictory session on Thursday. And also another picture, Speaker of House of Representatives, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, being led to the Green Chamber for the valedictory session on Thursday. Quite interesting. Just above the masthead, a report says federal government revokes Pan Ocean 5 other oil licenses. That story is continued on page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune. No land for cattle ranching in Igbo land, Ohanaeze insists. And that story is on page 9 of the Nigerian Tribune. And we've seen a lot of fracas between the cattle herdsmen and, the farmers in their domicile, and it's becoming something else entirely, because we've had reports of the herdsmen saying that they would sack the farmers off their land. And I would, most experts or most public opinion will feel that at this point the president needs to speak out. Exactly. I think it was it not last year when they put up the cattle, the cattle rearing bill that says that the cattle herdsmen would have a certain piece of land in each state for them to rear their cattle. But this has met with restrictions from the farmers and those who are on that land, saying that they can't give their land. There have been back and forth on this, and it's really causing a lot of security issues.
Well, I think the best way out of this is for the federal government to come in to checkmate the activities of these cattle rearers, the Fulanis. You find them even going to the extent of killing. You have people, I wonder how one will come into a person's land and start to kill. Some Nigerians even say that these people come in and act like they are the real owners of the land when they are actually in the real sense.
No, we've had reports of they saying that they would sack the owners of the land, of their land, and it's quite sad. It's quite sad, and it shows the state of impunity and insecurity in Nigeria. Exactly.
Well, away from that, we'll move on to The Nation newspaper. Have battle for deputy begins as Goje steps down for Lawan. And the writer to that story, Omar Gege Ali Mikena Borough Kalu 6 slot with Senator Danjuma Goje Goje's withdrawal yesterday from the race for Senate President. The coast seems clear for Senate leader Ahmed Lawan to get the trophy. We have 5 senators elect from the All Progressives Congress APC are jostling for Deputy Senate President. They are Senator Ovie Omagege Delta, former Governor Orji Uzor Kalu from Abia, Senator Francis Ali Mikena from Edo. We have Senator Ajayi Borough Ondo and Senator Kabiru Gaya of Kano. That story continues on page 6 of The Nation newspaper. Acting CJN justifies Onogen's suspension. We have some of it on the front page of The Nation, and it continues on page 7 of The Nation newspaper. 6 oil firms lose licenses over debt. We have the writer to that story. Pan Ocean, Allied Energy, Express, others affected. 6 oil companies lost their licenses yesterday, the DPR, and had announced the revocation of 6 oil mining licenses. That story continues on page 7 of The Nation newspaper. And I have also on the front page of The Nation, Emir of Kano gets 48 hours to reply query. That's on page 6 of The Nation newspaper. And I have APC receipts trust to Oshiomhole. That's on page 3 of The Nation newspaper. NBC shuts down AIT Ray Power. That's on page 45 of The Nation. And I have Sex Sense policemen to Wando. That's on page 11 of The Nation newspaper. And I have OGF ZA hailed on ease of doing business. That's on page 11 of The Nation newspaper. And the last sports story, while Mikel Obi made team by Roar. That's on page 47 of The Nation newspaper. That's all on the Nation. We'll move on to the Punch newspaper.
Yeah, we'll just take the top headline story in the Punch newspaper. PDP, NGE, others bash federal government as NBC suspends AIT Ray Power license. That story is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. I'll take the statement by the NGE. This action is unbelievable. Why would government do this in a democracy? This action is unacceptable and will not stand. Article says the legislature has been challenged. The judiciary has been tackled. If we stand by as the press loses its independence, there will be little to differentiate us from a dictatorship. This should not happen. That story was statement was by Atiku. But because of time, we would not be able to take the other stories on the Punch newspaper because our time is up now. But we're saying many thanks for joining us on the newspaper review segment on AM Cafe. And we'll move over now to Ibadan for the rest of the program. I am Folashade Ogurinde.
And I'm Faith Agbetuya. Many thanks for joining us. Join us on Monday for another beautiful edition. Good morning.
Good morning.